Hey guys, this week we are talking about the NASM overhead squat assessment. This is going to be the assessment that you are going to use to determine what areas of your client you want to pay special attention to with their flexibility program. Now, as we determined last week with the ACSM Fit VP, we want to make sure that we are stretching all major muscle groups for a client. But this specific assessment will tell us what really key areas that are extra tight on our client that we may need to spend some extra attention to, spend some extra time stretching. Okay, so I did get some great online resources for you to use. So they have, NASM has a video of how to perform the NASM overhead squat assessment. It is only 2 or 3 minutes, tells you how to get your client set up and how to perform the squat assessment. So basically what we're looking for with the squat is ultimately going to be some compensations or some areas of concern. So we want a perfect squat from our client. We may notice that their toes turn in or their arms fall forward, which we're going to look at in greater detail. After you view the video of the squat, there's also a link to some information that is, sorry, I'm flipping through screens here for you guys, it's on the NASM blog on how to perform an overhead squat assessment. So this is just like the video, except for it's just going to be in verbiage form, okay? So read through that as well. Make sure you have a good handle on how you're going to perform the assessment before you go back and pay attention to some compensations. Now, I created a little bit of a PowerPoint to kind of teach you a little bit about your angles and what specifically you're going to be looking for with a client for some compensations. So when your client is doing the squat assessment, you're going to set them up with their feet about shoulder width apart, toes pointing directly forward. Ideally, you want your client in stocking feet, so just with socks on or barefooted, in order to be able to see how their feet kind of roll in, how their ankles maybe would roll in, or how their toes would move during the squat. So you're going to view them from the anterior angle, which is looking straight at them, from the lateral angle, so you're going to view them from the side, and then the posterior angle or behind. So some things that we're going to look for in the anterior view are going to be if their feet are flattening. You can see here that this client, their feet are going to flatten. They're almost like rolling into their arches, right? Their feet turn out, so their toes point outward. And I know a lot of you may be strength trainers or heavy lifters, and so when you're doing a squat, naturally you kind of angle your toes outward. A lot of heavy lifters do that. It makes the angle on their knee feel a little bit better. But that is not a true anatomical position. So for a true squat, we do want toes pointed directly forward for this assessment. Okay, so if you notice their toes are rolling out, that is a compensation that we want to take note of. Their knees moving inward, so instead of their knees staying directly over their toes, they're kind of buckling those knees in, or their knees may be bowing outward. Okay. From the lateral view, they could be really arching their lower back or rounding their lower back. Excessive forward lean, that basically means that their chest is coming down towards their knees instead of staying in that nice upright posture. And then arms falling forward would mean that their arms are actually coming down. So ideally during the overhead squat assessment, we want a client's biceps to stay right by their ears. Okay, we want their hands straight overhead. So if their arms are falling forward, if their biceps are leaving their ear area, then that means their arms are falling forward, which is another compensation that we will want to take note of. And then on the posterior view, you may notice their feet flattening, their heels rising off the floor, or they're really just shifting their weight, which could be taken notice as maybe they're really, their left side comes up faster than their right. And we'll get a little bit into more detail about what these things mean next. Okay, so this PowerPoint is posted in your module for you to look at as well. Okay, so we do have in your module, I have for you, this is posted. So the overhead squat assessment from NASM, it's going to give you your kind of your checkpoint. This is all you care about, the overhead squat assessment. The stuff down here, the single leg squat and the pushing and pulling, we're not doing those assessments. So we're just going to pay attention to anterior and lateral view. So what happened with their foot or ankle? Did their feet turn out? And you're going to want to make note if maybe only their right foot turned out, or maybe only their left foot turned out. Or again, maybe neither happened. If their knees moved in or out, and if that again only happened on the right or the left side, if they had excessive forward lean, if their lower back was arching, or their arms falling forward. So this sheet is posted in your module for you as well. Okay. So what does all that mean? Well, so really the key thing that you guys are going to want to take a look at is the NASM overhead squat assessment compensation chart. So let's say your client, you found your client's compensation, they had a compensation. What specific muscle groups is that compensation going to relate to? So this chart kind of has all that information on it. I would never expect you to memorize this chart for this class. I just want you to be able to know where to find it, and you'll start to memorize some of the muscle groups of the more common compensations once you start working with clients as well. So the big kind of columns that we're concerned about is the view, the checkpoint, the compensation, and then the probable overactive muscles. Okay, so overactive muscles need to be stretched. So this is really the column that we're concerned about. Probable underactive muscles need to be strengthened. Which is important, but for the purpose of this class, we're only focusing on the overactive muscles, the ones that really need to be stretched, need to become more flexible. So if your client's feet turned outward, then their overactive muscles are going to be their soleus, their gastrocnemius, and their biceps femoris. So those three muscle groups are the muscle groups we're going to want to pay extra attention to. So soleus and gastrocnemius, all of those are is the fancy words for your calf muscle, right? And then biceps femoris is going to be part of the hamstring muscle, okay? So if we had a client whose feet turned outward on the overhead squat assessment, we're going to pay special attention in our flexibility program to stretching their calves and their hamstrings, okay? Pretty quick, pretty easy, simple way to kind of determine that, okay? And then you will continue to go down the list. So if their knees moved inward, their adductor complex, biceps femoris, tensor fasciae latae, and vastus lateralis. Those are going to be the type muscle groups that we want to pay extra attention to when we are designing the flexibility program for them, okay? I don't expect you guys to kind of memorize this, as I said, and I know not all of you have had anatomy and physiology yet. So if you are concerned about a muscle group or don't know what the muscle group is, a couple options. Contact me and I will help you with it. Feel free to Google it and look on an anatomy sheet as far as what the muscle is. Really, I know that most of you know the major muscle groups. It's just maybe you don't know the true anatomical name for them, okay? So this sheet, again, is posted in your module this week for you. So this is a sheet that you're definitely going to want to keep handy, okay? So this week, one of your assignments or your assignment is going to be, let me get back to Canvas here. So all that information that I was just talking about, the video, the written information and directions, our PowerPoint, the chart, and then the compensation sheet, all that is listed in your module for you. But your overhead squat assessment assignment is due this week. So basically what you're going to do is you are going to complete your overhead squat assessment on 2 different individuals. And You could pick any 2 individuals that you're currently kind of sheltered at home, in place, quarantined-ish with. And if you're having any trouble completing this assignment because you haven't been around people, contact me. But you are going to write a 1-paragraph summary regarding your finding for each client. So you need some background information about that client. You want to pay attention to what their age is, what their activity level is. So are they working out every day? If so, what are they doing? Are they just doing cardio? Are they just doing strength training? Are they stretching at all? What are they doing for their stretching? Think about activities of daily living that might affect their posture. Right now, a lot of us are working from home or at home, so we're seated at maybe not the best ergonomically correct desk because we're seated at our kitchen table or on our couch trying to do homework or school things. So maybe we are hunched over, our shoulders are rolled forward, our chin is jutted forward. Some job duties that may affect the client. Is the client a firefighter or a landscaper? So is doing heavy lifting. Think about an individual who might be forced to wear high heels all day. So naturally, when we are wearing high heels, our calves are contracted all day. So naturally, that client would have tighter calves. Think about waitresses who are carrying trays of food, maybe only on one side of their body. So start to think about how those things may affect posture, may affect flexibility. If the client has any previous injury, if they have any children, just remember that the more information that you can include in this 1 or 2 paragraph summary about your client, the better off you're going to be and the better you're going to understand things. Okay, so you are going to use this document right here. Just click on it, and this is what will come up. You're going to use the Fit for Stretching document. So you are actually going to type in your information, just download and save this Word document to your computer. You're going to type in your information about your client. So everything I just talked about, age, work, what their current activity level is, previous injuries. And then you're going to type in your results into this chart. Okay, so let's say my client had feet turning inward. Then I'm going to go back to my updated compensation sheet. So let's do feet turning outward. Sorry about that. Feet turning outward. So their toes start pointing outward. So I'm going to go feet turn outward, and soleus, lateral gastroc, and biceps femoris are going to be my tight muscle groups. So soleus, gastroc, medius, I spelled that wrong, and biceps femoris are going to be what I add into this tight muscle group area. Okay, let's also say that they had their arms fell forward, which is a very common compensation. So arms falling forward would go here, and my overactive muscles, so overactive muscles for arms falling forward are going to be latissimus dorsi, teres major, and pectoralis major and minor. So pectoralis major and minor are chest muscles. Teres major is a helper muscle for our latissimus dorsi, which is basically the big fan-shaped muscle in our back, right? So those would be those clients' overactive muscles. So I would type that in here. Then you're just going to save that and upload it to Canvas, right? So remember, the NASM overhead squat assessment is just a quick and easy way to find out where your client's tight muscle groups are and where we want to pay extra special attention to. Okay? If you have any questions at all about any of this, please contact me. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy this week's assignment.